And we start today with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and new recordings that reveal his frustration with former President Donald Trump in the days immediately following the January 6th Capitol attack.
Let me be very clear to all of you, and I've been very clear to the president. He bears responsibilities for his words and actions. No ifs, ands, or buts. I asked him personally today, does he hold responsibility for what happened? Does he feel bad about what happened? He told me he does have some responsibility for what happened. And he needs to acknowledge that.
All right, so we have seen a torrent of these recordings released here in the last 24 hours. NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapur joining me now from Capitol Hill. Sahil, break this down. First, let's start here. What do these admissions mean for the pending lawsuits and the investigations related to January 6th?
Well, lawsuits, it's not really clear. The investigation to January 6th, the relevance is mainly that there's more evidence now for the investigators on that January 6th committee, namely the extent to which the senior-most leaders of the Republican Party blamed then-President Trump for the riot, the insurrection on this Capitol on January 6th. We saw Kevin McCarthy. His anger was palpable. His frustration with the actions of the president at the time, Donald Trump, were palpable. Of course, the politics changed, and then Kevin McCarthy and most Republican lawmakers changed with them once they realized that most of the voters in the party were still on the side of Trump in spite of all that. So the bigger implication here is for Kevin McCarthy's speakership. Donald Trump holds the keys to that in the palm of his hands, and if he turns on Kevin McCarthy, my Republican sources believe that McCarthy's speakership dreams are over. But so far, Trump has not turned on McCarthy. He has some reason to keep him in that job, even though he does demand loyalty, because he gets a level of, subordination and deference from McCarthy that he doesn't often get, even from Republican leaders like Paul Ryan, the last Speaker of the House, like Kevin McCarthy, the Senate Minority Leader. So there are some reasons for Trump, that Trump may want to look the other way on this. We'll wait to see what he says. Right.
That's a great point about how important loyalty is to the former president. So in light of that, hearing these recordings, it's hard to see it as any way other than duplicitous here, because Kevin McCarthy came out and flatly denied initially reports that he planned to ask President Trump to resign following January 6th. Take a listen.
I'm seriously thinking of having that conversation with him tonight. I haven't talked to him in a couple days. From what I know of him, I mean, you guys all know him too. Do you think he'd ever back away? But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call him. Again, I mean, the only discussion I would have with him is that I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation we should resign. I mean, that would be my take, but I don't think he would take it, but I don't know.
All right, so Sahil, that is a 180, right? Have we heard anything from Kevin McCarthy, or Donald Trump for that matter, about what appears to be a pretty clear lie?
We have not heard from Kevin McCarthy or Donald Trump. We have reached out to both men, including multiple people in Kevin McCarthy's office. And what do you say if you're Kevin McCarthy? You just got caught red-handed, saying something on tape that you categorically, emphatically, specifically denied that you said. McCarthy is somewhat in damage control mode here, making sure that his speakership ambitions are secure. The two questions, that pertain to this are, first, what does Donald Trump think of it, as I just mentioned? And second, what do his Republican colleagues think of it? Because he's kind of been on the same journey that many of them were on. Many of them were stunned and flabbergasted and angry with Donald Trump on the day of January 6th. Their own safety, arguably their own lives, were in jeopardy as a result of that mob that was apparently incited by then President Trump to commit violence on the Capitol, to ransack the Capitol. But again, the politics turned. The Republican voters decided that they were okay with what Donald Trump did, and McCarthy, along with most of his caucus, turned as well. So one of the problems with Republicans kicking out McCarthy here for saying this is that it would draw attention to their own views, their own attitudes early on, when many of them felt at the time the same way McCarthy did. As for Donald Trump, we'll wait to hear what he has to say about McCarthy, suggesting that he would ask Trump to resign, also suggesting, perhaps most notably, that Trump told him privately that he being Trump, bore some responsibility for what happened on January 6th. Trump has never said that publicly, and it remains to be seen whether he'll take kindly to Kevin McCarthy saying that.
Fascinating to hear if Trump would acknowledge that publicly. And I guess also, Sahil, it would beg the question, Kevin McCarthy has refused to cooperate so far with the House investigation into January 6th. Could these recordings change that posture?
Unlikely. McCarthy's decision is in part political. He doesn't want to upset Donald Trump even more than he already has. So if anything, I think this makes him less likely to want to cooperate. But at the same time, it will certainly pique the interest of the investigators on the January 6th committee, the fact that Kevin McCarthy has had this 180 turnaround and the fact that he's tried to cover it up, insist that he never said things that he now clearly has said. Investigators have cast a wide net. They want to speak to anybody who had involvement in the rallies, the key events leading up to January 6th, people who were in communication with Donald Trump. Kevin McCarthy has not been forthcoming of it. Of course, they want to get him to testify under oath about what he did discuss, what he did know. And so far, he's refused to. It's hard for me to see that changing, Sam.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.